Hey everybody, it's Maria Clark at Sweet Willow Designs and welcome to my studio. I'm very excited today because I have a really neat collaboration with a fellow YouTuber, Stephanie Powers Bergeron of Deliberately Creative. I've got her links to her channel down below in the description and in the iCards. So I hope you'll check out her channel. And Stephanie does a line of doodle gems. I hope you can see that. She creates all kinds of gems with these really ornate and beautiful frames. And she and I have decided to collaborate on turning this turquoise doodle gem into this polymer clay pendant. So I hope you'll stay tuned and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, we're ready to do our turquoise. Here's the drawing, and you can see that Stephanie's done a beautiful turquoise cabochon with this matrix. I'm going to do a little pull in here so you can see the matrix a little bit better. So it's got black and a little bit of gold, and I'm going to try to simulate that. So I have used two colors of clay, this deep blue and white. And I'm just going to mix them. You could use any colors, and the colors won't be exact, so don't worry about that too much. We're trying to simulate a natural stone. So I've got my color blended here, and I have rolled it into a log, and I will then go through the process of making this, this turquoise. So I will also be using some black paint. I've got some America ebony black, and I've got this golden iridescent gold deep fine paint that I really love in my blade. So let's get started with making this turquoise. Let me adjust my camera just a little bit so you can see this. So I just roll this into a log. You don't have to roll it into a log, just happen to be easier for me. And I'm taking my blade and I'm just doing a very rough chop. Now, depending on the kind of turquoise you're making, I could have used my food processor, and I'll do another video on that type at a future date. But this is just a very rough chop because the matrix in the doodle that I'm using, the inspiration, is a fairly large matrix. So I want to have a kind of a rough chop here. And I'll just pull all of that up and put it on a piece of plastic wrap because we're going to get very, very messy. You could put some rubber gloves on too if you wanted, but I just go for it. I'm just going to get my hands dirty. So I'm pulling all those pieces apart so I have lots of little bits of this blue clay, and I'm spreading on some of this black paint. And you can see I'm just going to start mushing this around so that I get black paint on all of these little blue bits. And I just sped that up a little bit for you, but you can see they're just these little kernels of blue clay that are covered with black paint. And I will set that aside to dry. Now it's fully dried, and I'm just going to pull it up off the plastic wrap and get ready to add the next layer of paint. So just keep pulling all that up, because I really want to be able to move those little bits of clay around so that they get the next layer of paint. Okay, I've got this fine gold paint, and just take out a little bit. I'm not going to use very much of this paint. I'm just going to use a little bit because it's just a little hint of glitter in the turquoise. And you can see this in natural turquoise too. There's often a little bit of gold coloration in that. So I've got a little bit of the paint. You can see it's not very much. Same exact process. I'm just going to use my hands to get that paint really coating all of these different pieces, and I just sped that up a little bit so you don't have to watch that for too very long, but just kind of moving it around, getting that paint on the surfaces of the clay. And now I've let that dry, and I'll pull all of these pieces off, and I will start to form the log. So I'm going to get all these pieces and just kind of squeeze them together. I'm doing kind of a loose squeeze because I want to be able to see the matrix in the clay. So I'm just getting it together so I form a log, and I'll just keep pushing that clay around until I get it reduced just a little bit into a log. And I'm not blending the clay at all. I'm really just moving it and compressing it. You can see that there's still lots of texture in this clay. And just continue to shape it and refine it just a little bit so that I can use it. You could once you get this set up, you can use it not only to make the cabochons that I'll make, but you could use it to, you slice it and put it on a base sheet of clay and use it in all kinds of applications. So I've got this log pretty much, this little plug of clay pretty much the way I want it. So let's go ahead and cut it. Here's the exciting part. Let's cut it and see what we get. That turned out really good. And see how you see that little hint of gold? You can really get the sparkle. And, you know, again, don't worry, the color is really pretty good here, but it's not exact. And though you can see that I have a loosely formed kind of big matrix there. So here's my inspiration piece. And I took the big one just so it's easier to see the detail, and then I have reduced it down to 2 inches. So this is the size of the pendant that I'm going to be making, and I wanted to get a sense of the scale. So now I've got this 2-inch image, and I've got a little, you know, I'm just measuring to see if I think that oval cutter is going to work. The cabochon that Stephanie made looks to me to be an oval. You could use a round. It doesn't really matter what shape you use. And I'm going to slice off a nice little bit of that cane, that turquoise, flatten it out just a teeny bit, and then I will cover it with a piece of plastic wrap before I cut it, because I really do want to dome this piece because it's going to simulate a natural turquoise cabochon. So just press that through. I always have a little bit of this. It's hard. These cutters are hard to use, so I have just an acrylic block, and that helps me cut through that clay. And look at how beautifully it domed that clay. It's just gorgeous. I think it really does look pretty close to to a real stone. So this is how it looks. You can see that little hint, and there's little bits of voids in there because I didn't make a complete, the cane is not completely pressed, so that the base clay that I used still has a little bit of texture on it. And I'm going to make 4 of these cabs just to get them in the oven, so I have some extras to use if I want to try some different colors for the frame. I'll get those on my glass tile, and I will see how they're all just a little bit different. They look so good. I think they look great. I'll get those in the oven for the 60 minutes, and I always tent in aluminum foil everything just to make sure heating is even. And here are my 4 cabs. Let me zoom in because I polished one of them. So I just sanded and buffed this one, and it gets a really nice shine on it. You could also use a varnish on it if you wanted, but here it is next to the one just out of the oven. All right, so let's go back to our drawing. There's my cabochon. You can see that she's got flourishes here, and it looks to me like there's a little bit of shadow there. So I am actually going to build this from a base clay up, so it'll have a lot of dimension and layers. And I'm going to use some ball chain for the beading that Stephanie has around the cab. I could use clay, but I actually wanted to have a little bit of touch of metal. And here's the cutter I'm using. It's a 2-inch, and it's got a little fluted edge on it. I thought that would give a little bit of extra interest. And then here's my cab. So let's go ahead and start sculpting this. I've got this clay. This is a burnt umber and some copper. You could use any colors that you wanted. I think I'm going to try some other colors too. Rolled out to the number 1 setting on my pasta, and there's a texture on the back. Put the plastic wrap and use my cutter so I have a little bit of a bevel on that edge. And there you go. I'll pull that up from my large tile, and I'm going to put it, I'll just make sure I don't have any crumbs of clay on the edges, just clean that up just a little bit. And then I'll put it on a smaller 4-inch tile. I actually do want it on a tile or glass because I want it to sort of adhere to that tile, so I have a little bit of tension as I'm sculpting. And now I'm just placing my cabochon in the center, and I'll use a needle tool to mark it. The initial sculpting, I'm not going to leave the cab on. I'm going to go ahead and take it off as I do this initial part of the sculpting, but I have a reference for where it is, and I'll keep that cab close so I can test it out every now and again. So we're going to do these first flourishes on the side, and there's 2 layers that I'm going to use. And I've just got some of that clay. I'm going to cut off some strips and make a snake with it. I'm making a snake that's the same size, and you know, it's going to give me consistent shapes. So I'll just get that forming into a snake and get that rolled. And this is kind of, you know, a little bit by sight, not exact, but I'm going to try to cut some even pieces here. And I'll just cut. Stephanie had 9 of those flourishes around the side. I think I actually ended up adding 10 just because of the scale that I'm working on. So I'll cut all the same size here so I get even and consistent shapes. I'll take that clay, roll it into a ball, and then elongate it on one edge so that I'm forming like a little teardrop. And just get the first one placed, and then I can wrap those all the way around. So again, it's just rolling it into a ball and then flattening or compressing one edge. You've seen me do this shape in some of my other videos because I really love the Southwest look. So I'm going to speed this up and just continue to do this to add the rest of the shapes all the way around. And just get those placed. And you can see that I'm starting to curve the shape a little bit as I go around the top of that oval where the cabochon will be. I'm just going to use my fingers to curve it. And we'll continue to get each one of those pieces on. And here I'm just adding the last one. Okay, now I'll go back and just refine the shapes just a little bit. I want those first pieces that I put on didn't have enough of a curve, so I'm going to curve them just a little bit more. And you can just refine this to however, you know, you think it fits the shape best. And then what I'm going to do is, because this is a bottom layer and I'm going to put another bit of clay on top, I'm going to flatten them a little bit so I have a good surface to put the next layer on. Okay, let me fit that cabochon in there. It's looking good. Here's my reference photo. You can see I've put the first layer of the those little flourishes on the edge, or that go around the cabochon, and now I'll put the second layer on. Same shape, just a little bit smaller. So my pieces of clay, my snake is actually going to be a little bit thinner, and then I'll just cut, you know, what seemed like a reasonable amount. And you'll notice as I go through this, I have to sometimes add a little clay, take a little clay away to get the size that I'm looking for. Let me zoom in so you can see that a little bit better. I'm going to take that cab out. I'm going to leave it in for the rest of the sculpting, so I'll add a little bit of bacon bond. This bacon bond works really great, by the way. I really like the way that it adheres, so don't put over much in there, but enough to hold it. And this is because this is baked to raw clay. I'd already cured that cabochon. So now I'm going to make the next piece. It's the same thing, round, and then use your fingers to taper one end and see how that just lays right on top of the previous one, the first layer. And we'll keep doing that all the way around. Okay, speed up a little bit so you can get a sense of, I wanted to be sure to show this. I don't want to cut anything out, but you know, it's a really repetitive process, so you get the idea of layering it on top. So you see that little bottom piece is just peeking out. That's how Stephanie has drawn the original doodle. And just keep layering each one on top of the other. You know, what's fun about being able to build this up from the bottom is you get a lot of dimension and texture. And in the end, when we put a little bit of patina on this, you'll see that you can really, start to see all of the little fine details that we added. You'll notice I had to take a little bit off there. I had to add some to one previously. So, it's just kind of trial and error, but, you don't press down too hard, dry fit first. Make sure that it's the shape and form and size that you want, and then you can press it down and adhere it a little bit better. Okay, great. Let's take a look at our reference again. She's got a little bit, that was fast. She's got a little bit of texturing here, so I'm just using a needle tool to put a little bit of a vein and then 2 little dots. And that matches up with the drawing. It's really nice to be able to add these little details and texture. It really adds so much dimension and interest to the piece. So we'll go ahead and finish that up. Get the last of those details on there. And then the next thing we're going to do, let's look at the reference photo again. You'll see that there's this beading that goes around the cabochon. And like I mentioned, I could use clay, but I like this ball chain. It's a good size. Something I've had in my studio for a long time and just haven't used. So I think that's actually going to look really good. So I used one of the other cabochons I made to just get this fit and cut. And this ball chain's really easy to work with. You can just use your wire cutters to cut it off where you need to. So I'll just snip that off. And I'll get ready to put that around the cabochon. Just checking the fit a little bit. Okay, that's going to work out. The reason I'm doing this sort of dry fit, I noticed when I was doing it that it was starting to cut off a little bit of the cabochon, so I'm going to pull the clay away from the cabochon and make a little bit of a gap, a space, and a channel so that I can see more of that cabochon once I put the ball chain in. And I will use the Bacon Bond again. This really works great to adhere metals and that type of thing. I've been really pleased with it. So I'll put a little bit of Bacon Bond all the way around in that gap. And the Bacon Bond will dry clear. So, it sort of disappears into the piece. And then when I antique it, you won't even be able to, you won't know that I used any kind of adhesive type there. So just get that all the way around. Don't put too much. And then I'll just start fitting that ball chain. I had to cut off a little bit, had an extra little ball there, so I'll cut that off. And then I will start, I'm going to embed that chain just a little bit more, so you can see I'm pushing it down just with my nail to get it sort of in that space that I created. And I'll just keep working that all the way around until I get it placed how I would like it. I think the metal's really going to add a nice little touch and sparkle. So just keep, finessing and pushing that in till you get it placed how you'd like it. You could use seed beads, you could use anything here. You could use clay. It would be perfectly lovely. All right, so I've got my ball chain in there. That's looking good. Now let's add the rest of the pieces. Got these little buttons, these little circles there. So I've just got my 3/16 inch cutter. This clay is rolled out on the number 3 setting of my pasta machine, so it's fairly thin. And I've got each one of these little circles, and I will roll them into a ball and place them at the top of each one of those flourishes, those little swirls there. And get them all placed all the way around. And get the last one on there. Okay. Now I'm going to use one of my embossing ball styluses and just make a divot in each one of those. And that's just simulating the drawing. The fun of one of these collaborations is being able to take the work of someone else and see how you can interpret it in your own medium or add to it. So now I'm going to add those little flourishes, and I'm just going to use the same technique of rolling a snake of clay, although this will be quite a bit thinner. Again, I'm just going to kind of eyeball it because there's no way to do exact measurements here. So I'll just get a fairly thin snake. I just was checking the size to see if I thought that was a good thickness, and then I'll taper the end. Let me zoom in just a little bit so you can see this. And then I will curl the end, just a little curl. Put it at each one of those little buttons that I've got there, and use my X-Acto blade to cut off any excess right up against the next little button. And again, we're going to do the best we can to cut this close. Don't worry too over much about perfection. Really, this is a handcrafted piece of jewelry, so it doesn't have to be perfect. So I will, then also I've got a little rubber tool here. I'll just use it to press that down a little bit. And then it's a matter of just using the same process to put one of these swirls at each one, at each place. Each place you have a little button. You'll start at the top and then make the swirl all the way to the next piece. And we'll just keep going all the way around with that. I think I mentioned that I decided to use the earth-colored clay because this has a Southwest look, but I'm going to try it with some different colors of clay too and see how that works. I'm really excited about being able to try that. And that's the beauty of polymer clay. You can use, your imagination can take you any place you want to go, any color combination you want to try to achieve. It's really relaxing to be able to sculpt jewelry and then, you know, create something special and unique. Coming up on the last few here. Ugh, I wasn't happy with how that one was coming out. Okay, and here's our last one. Now, as I was doing this last one, I didn't really think there was enough of a curve in each one of these, so I tried to use my rubber tool to move that around, but really in the end I just decided to use my fingers. And see how I'm just pulling that clay out a little bit to make it curve a little bit more? I thought the other line was just a little bit too straight, and I preferred the more fluid line of a curve on that little flourish. So I'm just pulling it out. Look at how much dimension that has. I just think it is looking really, really nice. Okay. Let's get that into the oven. Another 60 minutes. And once that's cooled, we'll come back and take a look at the next steps. Okay, here it is. Doesn't that look good? Okay, I'm going to now put some patina on it. You could use any colors that you want. I want to stick with the black though because it will match the matrix in the turquoise. And just put a little bit of paint on and a stiff brush, get that all the way around. Now one thing I will say to you, see how I'm getting that all over the cabochon? I really wish I hadn't done that because it does stain the cabochon, so I ended up in the end having to sand it to get back some of the bright color. So just use a lightly damp cloth to take off some of the paint, and I think I took off too much, so I'll just do it again until I get the look that I'm going for. And look at how it really pops that ball chain. Oh my gosh, I think that looks so good. And it really highlights the details when you add that additional bit of the paint. Ugh, there it is with that cabochon again. That irritated me. I'll have to sand that off. And so I've got that. That's looking good, and I'll yeah, that cabochon. Okay, so I'll do the back. Just put a little bit of paint on the back, and so you can highlight the texture there. It really helps to finish the back. It makes the piece look complete. And then the same process, just wipe off any excess. Okay, and there we go. That looks really good. All right, let that dry. Now I have a couple of findings. You could do any number of findings. You could glue a bail on the back. You could make a polymer clay bail. I want to continue with the metal theme, so I'm going to use some brass jump rings and a brass bail that I have that has a nice sort of motif on it. And I was just sort of measuring where I wanted to drill my hole. I'm going to drill it at the top of the oval, so that it hangs, you know, with the oval in a portrait sort of orientation, and just use my drill bit to go through the clay. And then I will add a jump ring and the bail to finish this off. So we'll just finish and close that up. And there you have it. Looks good. Now I will do a little bit more sanding, I think, and buffing on that cabochon and around the edges, but it's looking really, really nice right now, I think. And here it is against my inspiration piece, and a little close-up, and then I'll zoom back out so you can see it against the piece, the doodle gem that Stephanie drew. You really need to check out her channel. She's such fantastic designs. So there you go. Here's a final shot of Stephanie's doodle gem and the pendant together. I want to thank Stephanie. This was such a fun collaboration, and thank you all for watching. Thanks for joining me in my studio. Hope you enjoyed this project. Please consider subscribing, giving me a thumbs up, or leaving me a comment. I'd enjoy hearing from you. Thanks so much. Take care.